My friends, I stand before you today with a heavy heart, but also with a sense of urgency. The times we live in demand that we awaken to the realities of our existence, to the forces that seek to control and suppress us, and to the innate power within each of us to resist, to overcome, and to rise above the circumstances that would otherwise bind us. The title of this discourse, Don't Let Them Control You, is not merely a caution, it is a call to action, a rallying cry for those who understand the value of their autonomy, the sanctity of their will, and the divine nature of their purpose. The nature of control. Control is a force as old as humanity itself. From the earliest civilizations, those who sought power and dominion understood that true control was not about chains or prisons, but about the mind and the spirit. The most insidious forms of control are not the ones that bind your body, but the ones that enslave your thoughts, limit your dreams, and dictate your sense of worth. Control comes in many forms. It comes from the systems that govern us, the ideologies that indoctrinate us, and the expectations that society places upon us. It comes from the voices of authority figures who claim to know what is best for us, often without understanding who we truly are. It comes from the media that shapes our perceptions, the education that molds our thinking, and the social norms that dictate our behavior. But the most dangerous form of control is the one we place upon ourselves when we internalize these external influences, when we allow the fears, doubts, and limitations imposed by others to become our own. This is the control that shackles our potential, that stifles our creativity, and that keeps us from fulfilling our true purpose. The illusion of power. Those who seek to control others often operate under the illusion of power. They believe that by manipulating circumstances, by dictating terms, by enforcing compliance, they can secure their position, their influence, and their authority. But true power is not about control, it is about liberation. It is about empowering others to realize their own potential, to make their own decisions, to chart their own course. When we allow others to control us, we give away our power. We relinquish our autonomy, our agency, our ability to determine our own destiny. We become pawns in someone else's game, living out a script that was written for us rather than writing our own story. But power, true power, resides within each of us. It is the power to think for ourselves, to make our own choices, to stand firm in our beliefs, and to live according to our own values. It is the power to resist the pressures of conformity, to challenge the status quo, to question authority, and to forge our own path. The power of the mind. The mind is the battlefield on which the struggle for control is waged. It is in our thoughts that we either succumb to the forces that seek to dominate us or rise above them. The mind is a powerful tool, capable of creating worlds, solving complex problems, and envisioning futures that do not yet exist. But it is also susceptible to influence, to manipulation, to the subtle suggestions that can lead us down paths not of our own choosing. We must guard our minds with vigilance. We must be discerning about the information we consume, the ideas we entertain, the beliefs we adopt. We must cultivate a mindset that is rooted in truth, that is open to new perspectives, but that is also anchored in our core values and principles. The mind is also where fear takes root, and fear is one of the most effective tools of control. When we are afraid, we are more likely to conform, to comply, to submit to the will of others. But fear is a choice, and so is courage. We must choose to confront our fears, to face them head on, and to move forward in spite of them. Courage is not the absence of fear, it is the determination to act in the presence of fear. The influence of environment. The environment in which we find ourselves plays a significant role in shaping who we are and how we think. Our surroundings, the people we interact with, the culture we are immersed in, all of these factors influence our beliefs, our values, and our sense of self. But while we cannot always control our environment, we can control how we respond to it. We must be intentional about the environments we place ourselves in. We must seek out spaces that nurture our growth, that challenge our thinking, that inspire our creativity. We must surround ourselves with people who encourage us, who uplift us, who support our journey towards self-realization. But we must also be aware of the environments that seek to control us. These are the environments that stifle our expression, that limit our potential, that enforce conformity. They are the spaces where our individuality is suppressed, where our voices are silenced, where our dreams are dismissed. We must recognize these environments for what they are and make the conscious choice to either transform them or remove ourselves from them. The role of education. Education is often seen as the key to liberation, and indeed it can be. Knowledge is power. And the more we know, the more equipped we are to make informed decisions, to challenge the narratives that are presented to us, to think critically about the world around us. But not all education is liberating. Some education is designed to indoctrinate, to condition, to produce compliant citizens rather than free thinkers. We must seek out an education that empowers us, that encourages us to question, to explore, to innovate. We must be lifelong learners, always seeking to expand our understanding, to deepen our wisdom, to broaden our horizons. But we must also be discerning about the sources of our education, recognizing that not all knowledge is created equal, and that some education serves the interests of those who seek to control rather than liberate. The power of purpose. Purpose is the anchor that keeps us grounded in the face of external pressures. When we know our purpose, when we are clear about why we are here, what we are meant to do, and who we are meant to be, we become less susceptible to the forces that seek to control us. Purpose gives us direction. It gives us strength. It gives us the resilience to persevere in the face of adversity. But purpose is not something that can be imposed from the outside. It is something that must be discovered within. It is a journey of self-discovery, of introspection, of listening to the inner voice that guides us toward our true calling. It is about aligning our actions with our values, our goals, with our passions, our lives, with our beliefs. When we live with purpose, we are not easily swayed by the opinions of others, by the demands of society, by the expectations of those around us. We become leaders of our own lives, charting our own course, setting our own standards. We become immune to the control of others because we are firmly rooted in the knowledge of who we are and what we are here to do. The power of vision. Vision is the ability to see beyond the present, to imagine a future that is different from the current reality, to dream of possibilities that do not yet exist. Vision is a powerful antidote to control because it empowers us to create our own destiny, to shape our own future, to manifest our own reality. But vision requires courage. It requires the willingness to challenge the status quo, to step out of the comfort zone, to embrace uncertainty. It requires the determination to pursue a goal that may seem impossible, to hold on to a dream that others may not understand, to persist in the face of obstacles. When we have a clear vision, we are not easily deterred by the forces that seek to control us. We are not easily discouraged by setbacks, by failures, by opposition. We are driven by a sense of purpose, by a belief in something greater than ourselves, by a commitment to a cause that transcends the limitations of the present. The power of choice. Choice is the ultimate expression of freedom. It is the power to decide, to determine, to direct our own lives. But choice is also a responsibility. It is the recognition that we are the architects of our own destiny, that we are accountable for the decisions we make, that we are the authors of our own story. We must not allow others to make choices for us. We must not relinquish our power to those who seek to control us. We must not abdicate our responsibility to live our own lives, to make our own decisions, to choose our own path. But choice also requires discernment. It requires the ability to distinguish between what is true and what is false, between what is right and what is wrong, between what is wrong, between what is liberating and what is controlling. It requires the courage to make difficult decisions, to take risks, to stand firm in our convictions. The power of belief. Belief is the foundation of all action. What we believe shapes our thoughts, our decisions, our behaviors. It is the lens through which we view the world, the framework within which we operate, the source of our strength and our resilience. But belief can also be a tool of control. When we accept the beliefs of others without question, when we adopt the ideologies of society without critical examination, when we internalize the limitations imposed by those in power, we become susceptible to control. We must examine our beliefs with rigor. We must question the narratives that have been handed down to us, the doctrines that have been taught to us, the assumptions that have been ingrained in us. We must seek out the truth, even when it challenges our preconceptions, even when it disrupts our comfort, even when it requires us to change. But once we have discovered our truth, we must hold on to it with conviction. We must stand firm in our beliefs, even in the face of opposition, even when it is unpopular, even when it is difficult. Our beliefs are the foundation of our freedom, the source of our strength, the guideposts of our journey. The power of action. Action is the manifestation of our beliefs, our choices, our vision. It is the means by which we bring our ideas to life, by which we turn our dreams into reality, by which we assert our control over our own lives. But action also requires courage. It requires the willingness to step out of the shadows, to take risks, to face challenges. We must not be passive observers of our own lives. We must not wait for others to act on our behalf, to make decisions for us, to determine our destiny. We must take action. We must seize the initiative. We must be the drivers of our own fate. But action must also be guided by wisdom. It must be informed by our purpose, our values, our vision. It must be rooted in our understanding of the world, our knowledge of ourselves, our awareness of the consequences of our choices. The power of resilience. Resilience is the ability to bounce back from adversity, to persevere in the face of challenges, to continue moving forward despite setbacks. It is the strength to endure, the determination to persist, the will to overcome. But resilience is not just about survival, it is about growth. It is about learning from our experiences, about becoming stronger through our struggles, about transforming our challenges into opportunities. We must cultivate resilience in our lives. We must develop the mental and emotional strength to withstand the pressures of the world, the challenges of our journey, the opposition of those who seek to control us. We must build the capacity to adapt, to innovate, to overcome. But resilience is also about community. It is about the support we receive from others, the encouragement we give to each other, the solidarity we find in shared struggles. We must build communities of resilience, spaces where we can uplift each other, where we can find strength and unity, where we can support each other's journey toward liberation. The power of integrity. Integrity is the alignment of our actions with our values, our decisions with our principles, our lives with our beliefs. It is the commitment to living authentically, to being true to ourselves, to standing firm in our convictions. But integrity is also a form of resistance. It is the refusal to compromise our values, to conform to the expectations of others, to submit to the pressures of society. It is the determination to live according to our own standards, to chart our own course, to define our own success. We must cultivate integrity in our lives. We must be true to ourselves, even when it is difficult, even when it is unpopular, even when it requires sacrifice. We must stand firm in our beliefs, even in the face of opposition, even in the face of control. But integrity is also about accountability. It is about holding ourselves to the highest standards, about taking responsibility for our actions, about being honest with ourselves and others. We must be accountable for our choices, for the impact of our decisions, for the consequences of our actions. The power of love. Love is the most powerful force in the universe. It is the force that connects us, that binds us, that unites us. It is the source of our compassion, our empathy, our understanding. But love is also a form of resistance. It is the refusal to hate, to divide, to destroy. It is the commitment to building bridges, to finding common ground, to healing wounds. We must cultivate love in our lives. We must love ourselves first and foremost, for it is only through self-love that we can truly be free. We must love others, even those who seek to control us, for it is only through love that we can break the cycle of control. But love is also about action. It is about standing up for what is right, about defending the oppressed, about challenging injustice. We must take action out of love, not out of hate, out of a desire to uplift, not to destroy, out of a commitment to build, not to tear down. The power of freedom. Freedom is the ultimate goal of our journey. It is the state of being in which we are no longer bound by the forces that seek to control us, in which we are fully in control of our own lives, in which we are able to live according to our own values, our own vision, our own purpose. But freedom is not given, it is taken. It is not a right, it is a responsibility. It is not a destination, it is a journey. We must take responsibility for our own freedom. We must seize it with both hands. We must guard it with vigilance. We must defend it with courage. But freedom is also about service. It is not just about being free for ourselves. It is about freeing others. It is about using our freedom to uplift those who are still bound, to empower those who are still controlled, to liberate those who are still oppressed. We must use our freedom to serve others, to build communities of liberation, to create a world where everyone has the opportunity to be free. The power of identity. Identity is the essence of who we are. It is the sum of our experiences, our beliefs, our values, our culture, and our unique individual characteristics. Identity is not something that can be dictated by others. It is something that must be discovered and embraced by each of us on our journey through life. Yet, one of the most common tools of control is the attempt to define or redefine our identity. Society, institutions, and sometimes even those closest to us may try to impose identities upon us, labels, roles, and expectations that may not align with who we truly are. These imposed identities can be limiting, confining, and destructive. They can keep us trapped in boxes that do not fit us, living lives that are not our own, pursuing goals that are not aligned with our true purpose. But we must remember that identity is our birthright. It is not something that can be taken away or altered by external forces. It is something that we must claim, nurture, and protect. We must resist the attempts of others to define us and instead embark on a journey of self-discovery, seeking to understand and embrace our true selves. This journey requires courage because it often means rejecting the labels and expectations that others have placed upon us. It means standing firm in the face of pressure to conform, to fit in, to be who others think we should be. It means embracing our uniqueness, our differences, our individuality, and recognizing that these are not weaknesses but strengths. Our identity is our foundation. It is the bedrock upon which we build our lives. When we know who we are less susceptible to the forces that seek to control us. We are less likely to be swayed by the opinions of others, less likely to be manipulated by the expectations of society, and less likely to be driven by the need for external validation. But identity is not static, it is dynamic. It evolves as we grow, as we learn, as we experience life. We must be open to this evolution, recognizing that who we are today may not be who we are tomorrow, and that this is a natural and healthy part of our journey. The power of boundaries. Boundaries are essential to maintaining our autonomy and protecting our identity. They are the lines that we draw to define what is acceptable and what is not, what we will tolerate and what we will not, what we will allow into our lives and what we will keep out. But boundaries are often misunderstood. Some see them as barriers, as limitations, as signs of weakness. But in reality, boundaries are a source of strength. They are a declaration of our values, a statement of our self-worth, a commitment to our well-being. We must be clear about our boundaries, both with ourselves and with others. We must know what is important to us, what we need to thrive, what we will not compromise on. And we must communicate these boundaries clearly and assertively, without apology, without fear. But boundaries are not just about saying no. They are also about saying yes, yes to the things that align with our values, yes to the opportunities that support our growth, yes to the relationships that nurture our soul. Setting boundaries requires self-awareness. It requires an understanding of our needs, our desires, our limits. It requires the courage to prioritize ourselves, even when it is difficult, even when it is unpopular, even when it is uncomfortable. But setting boundaries is also an act of love for ourselves and love for others. When we set healthy boundaries, we create space for mutual respect, for genuine connection, for authentic relationships. We prevent resentment, we avoid burnout, we protect our energy, and we ensure that we are living in alignment with our true selves. The power of self-respect. Self-respect is the cornerstone of a life lived in freedom. It is the recognition of our inherent worth, our intrinsic value, our fundamental dignity. It is the refusal to allow others to diminish us, to devalue us, to demean us. Self-respect is not about arrogance or pride. It is not about thinking that we are better than others. It is about recognizing that we are worthy of respect, of kindness, of love, and of fairness. It is about holding ourselves to a standard of behavior that reflects our values, our principles, and our beliefs. When we respect ourselves, we are less likely to tolerate disrespect from others. We are less likely to allow ourselves to be treated poorly, to be taken advantage of, to be manipulated or controlled. We are more likely to stand up for ourselves, to assert our needs, to protect our boundaries. But self-respect also requires self-discipline. It requires the willingness to make difficult choices, to say no to things that do not serve us, to hold ourselves accountable to our own standards. It requires the commitment to live with integrity, to be true to ourselves, to act in ways that are consistent with our values. Self-respect is also about self-care. It is about taking care of our physical, emotional, and mental well-being. It is about recognizing that we deserve to be healthy, to be happy, to be fulfilled. It is about making choices that support our well-being, that nourish our soul, that contribute to our overall sense of peace and contentment. The power of forgiveness. Forgiveness is a powerful tool of liberation. It is the process by which we release the hold that others have over us, by letting go of the anger, the resentment, the bitterness that can keep us trapped in the past. Forgiveness is not about condoning or excusing the actions of those who have wronged us. It is not about forgetting what has been done or pretending that it did not happen. Forgiveness is about freeing ourselves from the burden of carrying that pain, about reclaiming our power, about moving forward with our lives. When we forgive, we take back control. We refuse to allow the actions of others to define us, to dictate our emotions, to determine our future. We choose to release the hold that those actions have over us, to let go of the negative energy, and to open ourselves up to healing and growth. But forgiveness is also about self-compassion. It is about recognizing that we too are imperfect, that we too make mistakes, that we too are deserving of forgiveness. It is about letting go of the guilt, the shame, the self-criticism that can keep us trapped in a cycle of self-blame and self-punishment. Forgiveness is an act of strength, not weakness. It takes courage to forgive, to let go, to move on. It takes courage to choose healing over hurt, peace over pain, freedom over control. The power of creativity. Creativity is the expression of our unique self. It is the ability to imagine, to innovate, to bring something new into existence. Creativity is a powerful antidote to control because it is the act of creation, the act of bringing forth something that is uniquely ours, something that reflects our individuality, our vision, our voice. Creativity is not limited to the arts. It is a way of thinking, a way of being, a way of approaching life. It is the ability to see the world in new ways, to find solutions to problems, to express ourselves in ways that are authentic and true. But creativity requires freedom. It requires the freedom to explore, to experiment, to take risks, to fail. It requires the freedom to think outside the box, to challenge the status quo, to question the norms. When we embrace our creativity, we tap into a source of power that is uniquely our own. We break free from the constraints of conformity, from the limitations of control, from the expectations of others. We assert our individuality, our autonomy, our freedom. But creativity also requires courage. It requires the willingness to be vulnerable, to put ourselves out there, to share our ideas, our visions, our creations with the world. It requires the courage to face criticism, to withstand rejection, to persevere in the face of obstacles. Creativity is also about connection. It is about connecting with others through our creations, about sharing our vision with the world, about contributing something of value to the collective experience of humanity. It is about using our unique gifts, our unique voice, our unique perspective to make a difference, to leave a mark, to create something that will outlive us.